What happened with this press event?
It was for the Traders?
Yes.
Have you watched the Traders?
I've never watched it, but I know about it.
Okay, same. I was invited to the Traders experience. So fun. I thought it would all be like writers, like I was invited as a member of the press, but then it was a lot of like podcasters, actually, which was really cool. Basically, they grouped us into groups of 10, and then we went through and played Traders.
Okay.
Which is like Mafia, kind of.
Yeah, that's
how people were describing it to me when I would come up to them and be like, so I haven't watched the show.
All I know is that Gabby Wendy won.
That tracks. And then there's an element of faux murder.
Oh, yeah, so it is Mafia.
Yeah. But what was really cool is walking through, it was in this venue space that's an old bank, and it was just huge. Like, there was so much space, which I just feel like in New York always hits really hard when you're, like, in a big space. And the set design was amazing. Like, they had these really elaborate sets, a team of, like, 10 actors, all doing very convincing Scottish brogues, leading us through these challenges.
Okay, Peacock, they got money.
Yeah, they got serious money.
Were you
and
the
then
trader?
I got murdered. No, I got murdered.
No.
I was so scared I was going to be a traitor because I'd never played the game. So I was like, I don't even know what I would do as a traitor.
I'm a really bad liar.
And then I thought people were going to think I was a traitor because I was so bad at the challenges. Because the first one was we had all the portraits of this season's players and we had to like match them. They basically had riddles for the seating chart, being like, so-and-so was on this show and she needs to be sat next to this person from this show. And I didn't know any of the people. Luckily, some other people in my group really knew. But I was like, oh, they're totally going to think I'm a traitor because I'm so bad at this that I'm just like standing in the corner not able to contribute. And basically, if you're a traitor, if the main group loses the challenge, then you win.
Right.
So your whole objective is just to sabotage. But I was just so bad.
And you were sabotaging by not knowing.
Yeah. I was just being myself, actually. So...
Season 1, Episode 13, Portrait with Bandaged Ear, which came out January 17th, 2012.
Obviously, this is the Van Gogh.
The Van Gogh,
portrait.
yes.
I didn't even need to Google it.
Van Gogh cuts off his ear and then sends it to a sex worker named Rachel.
I didn't know that's where it went.
Yeah, he gives it to like a sex worker. He got into a fight with Paul Gauguin and then he cut off his ear. But did you know the ASL sign for Van Goghs? It's like you're cutting your ear off, guys.
Them opening with the arrest scene again, but with sound, I was not expecting. I forgot.
I think it was helpful because now we see exactly why they tackled him to the ground. It's because they said drop your weapon and he didn't drop the wrench because he couldn't hear, guys. And then you see that he's trying to sign, but he's being restrained behind his back.
They said to him, we have a warrant out for your arrest. If they knew who he was...
When they know he's deaf?
When they know he's deaf.
I don't know.
Surprise, surprise that the cop is dumb, but like...
I don't think...
It's not like there's some like database, but I feel like if they had a profile of him, wouldn't they be able to see that he went to Carleton School for the Deaf?
Your attendance in a certain school is not in like some database that all the cops can see.
But they had his name? Where does the information start and stop?
Right, I don't know, because we later find out they
address.
catch him because surveillance cameras caught him.
Yeah.
So they were able to somehow see the face and figure out his Emmett blood cell, but they don't know. But they never explain how they got from like point A to point B.
But Melody shows up at the police station, and there's already an interpreter there.
Yeah, she says, where the hell is my son? And then she asks if there's an interpreter, and they said, yeah, great.
With him at booking, so clearly somewhere on the ride.
Somewhere on the ride, they figured out,
Yeah.
Oh shit, we need an interpreter. And they explain to Melody that Emmett has been charged with trespassing and vandalism. And she says, that's a load of crap. But then the interpreter doesn't speak that back. He just says, she doesn't believe you.
Yeah.
I think he was trying to be on her side and not make her look bad.
Isn't that very against all ethics of an interpreter?
That is kind of against the ethics of being an interpreter.
Yeah.
They're supposed to interpret exactly what they say.
They do a lot of that on the show.
They really do. Live?
And I would hope that doesn't happen in real life. Everything I've been taught about interpreters is like, you are merely a vessel for communication.
Exactly. You can't side with anyone. You were just there for access, but yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, and they reveal, we've got photos of Emmett tagging this billboard.
Clear as day. These are the greatest
HD pictures.
CCTV cameras I've ever seen.
I think he even comments on it. He's like, you'd be amazed what these cameras are able to pick up these days.
He's like, these digital cameras instead of film. Yeah.
I guess so.
And then Millie's like, shit, okay. And then apparently they're pressing charges. Who is pressing charges? The city?
Like if the city owns the billboard? I guess.
Right.
Or if someone else owns the billboard, then the private owner of the billboard, maybe?
Again, no explanation.
This does sound like something the city would do. They said, we take these crimes very seriously. Nobody got hurt except for Emmett when he fell off the fence. Like,
and when they handcuffed him. Also, the piece of art is cool.
I know. It's not even, like, violent or graphic in any way. Oh. It's not inappropriate.
Don't you guys have anything better to do?
They should, but I guess not.
Then next scene, Bay is meeting Angelo at a restaurant.
Another date spot.
She even says it feels like a cross between an interview and a date.
Yeah, thank God she said something. And he's like, what, no chaperone? And she says, no one wanted to go get Cuban-Chinese fusion. Okay. Oh, and also Angelo, like, European kisses her on both her cheeks when she comes in.
Oh my God.
And she's very startled by this.
Sure, that makes sense.
She makes a comment when the espresso shows up. She says, my parents don't love the idea of me drinking caffeine. She's 16.
But remember in the first episode, she drinks coffee?
Yes, with the fake... like a rebellion. Oh my God.
I think it was a callback to that.
You're so right. And now she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa.
I'm a good girl now.
I guess so. Anyway, I said it then and I'll say it now. I think it's strange for a parent to not let you drink caffeine at 16. I don't know. I had a lot of autonomy growing up.
You did. I think you especially had a lot of freedom as a child. I don't know if I had those rules. I think if I started to, my parents wouldn't have done anything, but just my parents both don't drink coffee, so I just never got into it.
Yeah, my parents both really do. So maybe they were like, we're not going to be hypocrites and say you can't have it.
Right.
Plus, I was tall enough.
I was so worried it was going to stem my growth. And spoiler alert, I am 5'1", so I'm sure...
Your parents are also both small.
Yeah, we're a small family.
There was no chance you were going to be super tall.
I don't know.
Did you have big dreams when you were playing basketball? You were like, if I just don't drink coffee.
I just wanted to be like 5'3" or 5'4". Just a few inches. I want to be average. 5'4" is what, like the average height for an American woman. I think I was striving for that. That didn't happen. Anyway, Angelo orders an espresso for Bay. And then he's like, sorry, didn't realize the caffeine thing. I don't know how to be a father to a 16-year-old. And then Bay says, well, maybe if you stuck around with Daphne, you would have a better idea. Ooh.
Burn.
Yeah.
But then Angelo's like, what should I do about that to Bay? Which I don't feel is appropriate.
No. Angelo annoyed me so much this episode.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But also he was looking very handsome.
I know, and Regina agrees.
Also later on when he's like, I need a haircut, I was like, no, don't cut your hair. You're
but
so
then
sexy.
She runs her hand through his hair. She's like, okay.
My God.
Daphne, if you remember, was recruited onto the Buckner basketball team, and she's practicing her b-ball signs with Toby.
Yeah. Question about the signs. Do teams always do that? Yeah. Are there signs for every single play?
Usually a sign or like a word. Gotcha. Like I think when I was little, we had one call that was like penguin, and then that meant that someone ran to do a pick or something.
Okay.
But I guess this Buckner team, they do like hand signs.
That's convenient. And then, Bay comes in to be like, hey, I was just with Angelo and he really wants to see you. Poor Bay that she, like, not even this parent is solely focused on her.
And she has to be the messenger.
Also, I hate Daphne's gray and orange cardigan and her little headband.
I know.
I hated it.
I didn't hate Bay's outfits this episode. I think Bay was fine.
Well, they put Bay in a lot of long necklaces in this episode.
That was so 2012,
long layered necklaces. I know, doesn't mean I have to like it. I just think putting Daphne in that much orange with her coloring is like a ginger crime. And then...
We're at the guest house.
Yeah, Daphne goes upstairs and she's flipping through photo albums.
She's looking through old photo albums of her as a child, and she sees a lot of missing photos that were removed from the album. First of all, this is not her.
No.
Usually when actors, like, have baby pictures. They'll get, like, real baby pictures of the actor. So, like, there should have been young Katie LeClaire in these albums.
Yeah.
But instead, we have some child actor who looks like her pictures have been professionally taken. Like a Canon Coolpix.
They're like very glossy, like high res.
High res. Looks like
staged.
Looks like they were just taken yesterday. But
because they were.
Yeah, but what? The girls were born in the early 90s. At least the photo quality would not be that good.
No.
Unless they had a very expensive camera. Most likely Regina would have had a point and shoot or a disposable camera, and the quality would not have been like that.
No.
Anyways, that bothered me. I was like, you couldn't get any old baby pictures of Katie LeClaire and then, like, Photoshop them with Regina and Angelo.
It's also funny because this one day at the park that they just took, like, 75 photos of. And then it was just, like, more photos of the same park from a different angle with Angelo in them.
It looks like they got a professional photographer.
Yeah, like the three of them in a professional photo shoot.
On this blue slide.
Yeah, it's not very believable. I want to give a quick shout out to Emma because the next note that I had was, everyone finds out that Emmett gets arrested, but I was voice to texting these notes. And so it says, everyone finds out Emma, in like the way she's styled with emojis in my phone, in my contact, has been arrested. So shout out to you, Emma.
Regina gets a text from Melly that Emmett was arrested, and then she tells Daphne, and then Daphne tells Bay.
Yeah. And then Bay immediately goes to Melody's house, which is a bad idea, Bay, and is like, it's my fault. Don't tell Melody that. First of all, Melody already knows.
Also, second of all, it's not.
Here's how I feel conflicted about it, because
Bay says it a lot this episode that it's like her fault.
I know that Emmett did that, and the photos are from the time that he chose to do it on his own as a birthday present to her, but she had already asked him to do it with her, and they had gone and almost gotten caught.
But then he took the initiative to go and do it alone again.
So I think it's more his fault, but I do think that Melody's right to be like, if he didn't know you, he would have not ever done something this illegal and, like, stupid.
Also, he just got home from the prison. She's like, he is so grounded. This is not the time.
But I don't think she's wrong in being like, there is a direct line between what happened and me.
Sure.
Not even just because he did it for her birthday. That, like, if he had just found out she did street art and then done that
would have been weird.
That would have been weird. And also, like, how did you get the know-how or whatever? But the fact that she brought him first and they, like, tried to do it together and it went awry, like, I kind of feel like he only got caught the second time because they'd already tried and, like, the cops had pulled up on them. But, like, do we think they were keeping an extra eye on that billboard? Because they knew people were trying to tag it?
That's a good point. Maybe.
Which, if that's true, that's Emmett's own fault because you should have thought of that because that's dumb. Don't go back to the scene of the crime.
Find a different billboard.
Yeah, find a different billboard. But
anyway, yeah, Melody starts singing to Bay ever since you and Emma started hanging out. And she does the sign hanging out again, reference to last episode. Basically, ever since you two started hanging out, he's been coming home with bloody clothes and all this stuff. And if you really want to help, she finger spells stay away.
Yeah.
To Bay. Ouch.
I feel for Bay in this interaction too, because Bay is like, please slow down. Like, I'm trying to understand. And then you watch her get so frustrated that she's trying to sign, like, I want to help him, but she, like, can't. She, like, signs it wrong, and she has to redo it.
Right.
And then Angelo shows up at the salon, and he's like...
Ambushalo.
Ambushalo is back, but this time he's got long, flowy hair, and he's like, I need a haircut.
And money.
Gina, I need you to cut my hair. And she's, like, running her fingers through it for some reason. I get it. She can't resist.
He also says, 1, I got an apartment, and 2, right near the apartment, I guess, there's a space
for her salon.
And it's perfect for your salon, and I have the money. No explanation of where he gets the money.
Yeah, which she still hasn't told him that she knew about the switch. So, like, I can't believe she's going along with his plan. First she says no, but later on she's going to cave.
He's really pushing it, too.
Yeah, he wants her back, I think. Do you think?
I also wonder if he stands to get a profit from the salon, too.
I don't really understand his motivations. Like,
he later says, like, it's...
to make up for everything.
To make up for leaving Daphne. But that's such a weird...
But why? How would that...
Anyway, after Ambushalo sees Regina at the salon, it's game time at Buckner. And Daphne's a bench warmer. Poor Daphne. I have been there.
You have?
I have played several games where I've sat on the bench and not played.
Yeah, this was unrelatable to me completely.
It sucks.
Because I've never played a sport. I guess I thought that it wasn't that uncommon of an occurrence.
It happens often, especially for basketball. But I think what's frustrating is that I guess we as the audience know that Daphne is good. But John, Catherine, Toby, and Regina are all watching the game.
Yeah.
And then Toby accidentally lets it slip that Catherine is writing the book. And Regina is not happy about this.
No, she shuts down so fast. Like, she turns...
She goes, do you need more money or do you just want to humiliate me? Crazy. But then Catherine should have explained that the journalist from the Kansas City Herald was going to write a book about them instead and exploit them. So she was just taking matters into her own hands. And I think if she explained that, Regina would have been more supportive.
I think so too. But I also don't think Regina has any right to be like, no. Because Regina goes, no. Like, I won't agree to that.
And she goes, you're not going to write without my cooperation.
And Catherine said, I literally do not need your cooperation.
No.
I feel like Regina can't just, like, be normal about things.
No, not at all.
The permission she really needs is from Bay and Daphne.
The kids.
She really needs to make sure they're okay with it.
Yeah. I guess Regina's concern is being exposed to the world that she knew about the Switch.
Oh, 100%. If I were Regina, I also would not want that book out there because I would look like the bad guy because she kind of was.
Yeah. And whose fault is that?
Anyway, yeah, I don't have much sympathy for her.
No. We're called to now, and Bay goes to see Emmett because he's been really distant. He hasn't been texting. And he says, sorry, Mom took away my phone.
But he's also being very evasive.
Very evasive. And Bay says basically that she wants to turn herself into the police. And Emma's like, no, I did it. And he's taking full responsibility for his actions. Basically like, stay out of it. You've done enough. And then Bay sees the bruises on his wrist. Poor guy. And then she asks Emmett, are we okay? And he says, sure.
Painful.
So painful.
Just don't say anything if your answer is going to be sure.
I know. Sure is such a painful answer. Back at Buckner. Buckner wins. Yay. But it's no fun because Daphne didn't play. And then Daphne visits Emmett at home. Melly let her right in. First thing she says is not, how are you? But I think I'm going to see Angelo.
That felt odd to me. Do you think... I think maybe sees Emmett, like, self-soothing with the music and being all moody, and she's like, let me break the ice with my problems.
Maybe. Or maybe they texted.
Maybe.
Beforehand.
The big thing happening right now with the Stranger Things ending is that the Duffer Brothers when people are like, what about this plot hole, or like, what about this loose end, they just keep saying, well, it happened off screen.
I hate that.
So now every time I have a question about the episode we're watching where I'm like, wait, what? How did that resolve itself? Well, it happened off screen.
Well, they texted off screen, apparently.
I guess they must have texted off screen. Or Daphne's just being typically Daphne and a little self-centered. And being like, I'm sad about... Because she's like, I'm going to see Angelo, and then she's like, also, I sat on the bench during my whole basketball game.
But then she does ask him about the experience of being arrested.
Yeah, she's like,
and it's so sad. She's on the verge of tears the whole time. She says, it felt like I was drowning. I hate being deaf, and I also hate myself for feeling that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor guy.
I wanted them to hug at the end.
I know, he just sits there on the bed weeping. And that's it.
I feel that they should have hugged.
They really should have.
It's my one note.
Yeah.
And then at school, Simone flags Toby down, and she's like, hey, I feel like I know why they're not playing Daphne.
Wonder what that's about.
And then Melody comes to meet Regina outside of the salon for lunch.
Melody just has a bowl of strawberries.
So she's just eating.
It's just a bowl of color strawberries. She says Emma has to do 20 hours of community service and pay a $5,000 fine, which I think is very high. I don't know. Not a lot of community service, though. That's pretty low.
It should be the opposite.
Right.
100 hours community service, $2,000 fine?
I don't know.
Whatever. Maybe Kansas City really cracks down on...
trespassing and vandalism.
Which trespassing? It's a billboard.
Sorry, I don't know.
This pisses me off so much.
But then Melly apologizes to Regina about game night.
But I do feel like when she apologizes, there is an unspoken thing between them. I know no one else knows that Bay does the street art, but I feel like Regina can sense that Bay was probably involved in whatever Emmett got into.
Right.
And Melody, at this point, knows that Bay was involved. So even though Melody does apologize, I feel like there's this thing between them where they're both like, Yeah, but you may be a little bit right, unfortunately.
She hasn't apologized to Bay, and it doesn't seem like she will. And then the $5,000 fine seems to be a stressor for Melly. She's like, I don't know where we're going to get that money. So that's
Yeah. So I don't think they're flush with cash like that, despite their Riverview.
Guess not. Maybe a guidance counselor at School for the Deaf doesn't pay well.
Oh, I always forget that that's Melody's job.
Yeah, she's the guidance counselor.
Have we, at this point, we haven't seen her do that job. We just know she does that job because she said it when she was coaching.
Yes, we haven't seen her teach.
That explains why she's at Carleton later. Because I was like, wait, she just shows up and Emmett, like, leaves. We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Okay, this is where I noted that Bay sends Emmett a text, and she spells out the letters, R-U-OK.
Like the letter R?
Yeah.
The letter U? Okay.
Okay. And then Emmett gets the text, and the text is the words spelled out. Are you okay?
Guys.
I know.
Easy fix.
Seriously.
I also was wondering, did he lie about Melly taking away his phone, and he's just actually been ignoring her text? That's why I think too.
Because maybe she took it away at first, but he sees the text and he flips the phone back over.
Yeah.
So he is not answering Bay's texts.
Now we're back at the Kenish house. Daphne goes up to Toby, and I think they're going to work on some basketball signs again. And Toby's like, yeah, cool. But then he very quickly drops that Simone, or a friend.
Yeah, he hides Simone's identity for some reason.
He just says someone whose parent is on the board of trustees told him that the only reason she got recruited to Buckner is because Buckner qualifies for a $20,000 grant for schools who have students with disabilities participate in sports. And Buckner wants the grant money for new locker rooms.
Okay, at this point, have we not been to multiple Buckner fundraisers? Why does the school need more money?
I know.
What is wrong with their current locker rooms? And even if something was wrong, just like throw another gala.
They're greedy.
To take, presumably that's state money. That's
right. And apparently the coach has no interest in playing Daphne's because the principal basically shoved Daphne down his throat. And Toby is like, well, you just have to prove him wrong. Keep going to practice and whatnot. But also, I think I'm like, why can't you do both? Get the grant money and also play Daphne because she's good. But this is very upsetting news for Daphne.
Yeah.
And we'll see this really bothers her for the rest of the episode.
Yeah, it really bothers her, which makes sense.
Which would bother me too.
Yeah, of course.
Someone told me once that the only reason I got into college was because I was deaf. It was the meanest thing anyone's ever said to me.
Why would they say that? Were you like fighting physically?
Yeah. Physically? No.
Wait,
verbally,
what were you fighting
yes.
about?
I don't remember. Okay. She was like, Carol, you think you're so special. The only reason you got into is because you're deaf. She was like, you make it like a whole thing. Like me being deaf, like a whole thing.
Who was this person?
It was...
Wow.
I know. Crazy.
You're a better person than me.
I know what to do. Anyway.
So John's been like, you need to tell the lawyer that you're writing a book. So she's like, I'm going to go by the office. And her lawyer is out to lunch, apparently. So she's leaving her voicemail. And then she's like, oh, I see you right there. And she sees the lawyer across the parking lot.
Smooching.
Coming back from lunch, macking on some guy.
It's Dale from the hospital.
Dale. It's the big reveal. I just wrote some guy, and then I was like, I know he's someone, but I didn't realize
he's the guy that played golf with John.
Yes.
And like lightly threatened to John.
Yes.
That you should settle.
Yes. So the big reveal is that her makeout buddy is Dale from the hospital board.
Which, guys, that's a conflict of interest.
That is a huge conflict of interest.
And then pretty much after that is that I'll just clean up this plot line. Catherine tells John, and they fire her on the spot.
They fire her. But before then, she walks in and she has something to tell them, and she never tells them what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. But then she's like, fine, I'll send all the files from the lawsuit over.
Yeah.
And that's the last receiver. Oh, but also I really liked when Catherine said, I thought she was a lesbian.
Yeah, Catherine says, I'm just so surprised. I thought she was a lesbian. And John goes, oh, because of her haircut?
And Catherine goes, no, because I thought she had a crush on me.
She was kind of giving lesbian in the show.
She was giving lesbian. Anyways, that's the last we see of Amanda, really. Bye, Amanda.
Bye, Amanda. She's gone the way of Liam. And then Daphne is at the Buckner Library, and she's waiting for her cooking class to start. What time of day do we think this class is taking place?
It's gotta be afternoon?
Because, like, how does she have free time to just hang out in the library before cooking class if she's taking a full class load at Carleton?
I don't know. Maybe she skipped lunch and went to the library, and then maybe the cooking class was after lunch.
Maybe.
It happened off screen.
Literally, it happened off screen. But Simone comes and is like, by the way, I'm also going to tell you the Buckner thing. And
but Daphne's like, why?
You already know? And Simone's like, no, I'm the one that, like, dropped it.
But Daphne's furious that Simone didn't tell her straight up instead of going to Toby first.
Yeah, I felt it was odd that she went to Toby first. Do we think she was trying to convince Toby that she's a good person because she's trying to date Toby?
Is she trying to date Toby?
Yes, for sure.
I did not catch that.
Oh, there's, like, a real vibe between them.
Okay, maybe.
So, like, that would be my only thoughts on her motivation for doing that. I don't know.
What? Yeah, I was going to say, what is the point of sharing that information at all? It seems only hurtful.
For one, I think Simone didn't want to get caught. Like, I don't think Simone knew that when Simone was encouraging Daphne to join the team. She only found out
of course
after.
not.
But I think that she doesn't want it to look like she was in on it somehow if that plot gets revealed and it's revealed that that's her dad doing that.
Because she's historically like a bitch at the school.
Yes. And then, two, she does genuinely care about Daphne, from what I can tell. And she doesn't want Daphne to, like, kill herself practicing and take it personally. When in reality, like, Simone's like, it's really not about you at all.
It's
like,
out of your hands. Yeah, I guess that's fair.
But she should have just come directly to Daphne. But I guess they weren't close enough friends. Maybe she didn't know how Daphne would react.
I don't know. They made out guys in front of each other. I think that's really connecting.
So then Daphne is back at the Kenish house reading As I Lay Dying.
By William Faulkner.
Have you read it?
No. But apparently it's a really heavy book because both Bay and Toby make a comment like, wow, doing some light reading, huh?
Yeah. Like brother, like sister.
Yeah. Bay asked Daphne, hey, how's Emma doing? Is he mad at me? Has he talked about me? Is he on phone lockdown? Or what's going on? And Daphne's in such a bad mood after hearing about the grand thing. She immediately snaps at Bay and is like, it's not about you. And she's right, to be fair.
She's right.
Basically, Emma's traumatized from the arrest. And she said, you don't get it and you never will get it. And then Bay says, I feel like you guys being deaf is like being lorded over me.
And Daphne says, the fact that you even think it's something to lord over you means you'll truly never get it.
Yeah.
I do think this is a classic case of, like, it is not about you, Bay, and she's making it about her. I do think it would have been nice for Emmett to send a text like, hey, I need some space.
Yeah, but also I don't think she realizes, like, how upsetting this was to Emmett.
Totally.
Because she doesn't know. No one's telling her.
She doesn't know. Bay storms off, and then Toby comes. He makes his own As I Lay Dying joke, and then she's like, wow, I'm really not in the mood for this. And he's like, what's wrong? And she's basically just feeling very down on herself about being deaf. What does she say? She says, like, I'm disabled. It's a miracle I can talk to you and hold this book at the same time. And Toby's like, whoa.
You're never like this.
Yeah. He's like, what's up? And it happens off screen, guys. We don't find out what's up. But then she goes to Angelo's apartment.
Yes.
And it's revealed
what's up.
when she unloads on him that he's the source of whenever she feels like discriminated against or like someone's discounting her.
It reminds her of when her father left her. She knocks on the door, he opens it, and the first thing she says is, did you leave me because I went deaf? What happened to hello? How are you?
You know, deaf people are blunt like that. She said, let's cut to the point.
I know. Very awkward conversation. He invites her in.
Yeah, but it's kind of sweet too.
Yeah.
It kind of warmed my heart a little bit. He's like, I'm making soup.
You used to love the soup when you were a child.
And then she's thinking about it and she's like, did you used to sing when you could?
And he said, yeah. And then he sings the song a little bit.
And I swooned a little. He's so cute.
It's sweet. And then
you didn't sing.
But then he drops a stupid, ignorant question. Do you remember sound? And then he's like, never mind, don't answer that. It reminds me of when we first saw him, and then he was like, you didn't even understand anything I said, did you?
Yeah, he's so ignorant.
But it's nice to have little reminders that he's trying, but he's still so ignorant.
It's nice at least that he corrects himself, and then he's like, I don't know what to say. At least he's self-aware a little bit. But then, yeah, Daphne's just like, I need you to answer the question. Why did you leave?
And like the main reasons he says is, one, you didn't look anything like me. Regina and I were fighting all the time, and I felt like Regina was lying. But then she asked him again, one last time, if he left because she went deaf, and he says, maybe a little. Ouch.
Ouch. But she says, thank you for telling me the truth.
And then she leaves.
And she leaves. Yeah, and then...
we're at the salon.
Yeah, Regina's leaving the salon, and Geraldo's like, hey, heard that you're gonna open a competing salon?
And he basically threatens her.
Yeah.
He's like, after all I've done for you. And she's like, after all I've done for you, I bought you 10 new clients and a live income for your salon.
I don't really have any skin in this game.
No, I'm like, who cares?
I don't care.
I don't know Geraldo. I don't care.
Yeah, Geraldo will be fine, but also, like, Regina, I still don't think you should open your own salon.
But also, if another salon opens up, who cares? We don't need monopoly, guys.
No. And then, yeah, Melody is out near the lunch tables at Carlton, and Emmett's out there, and he's like, I know I should be in trig right now. And she's like, I don't care. I'm not mad. Emmett, if you're already in trouble, maybe stop skipping class. I'm begging you to go to class for once.
Please.
He is never in class.
No. And you've been failing.
And he's been failing things.
I know. And then she's like, I hope everything's okay. Maybe something good will come out of all this adversity. And maybe you learn something from this. And he goes, what? I'll break up with Bay?
Emmett. He's acting like such a teenager.
He's a teenager.
I know he is one. I feel at this point like he's making Melody's case too easy for her with the way he's behaving.
But don't you think he's also thinking that himself?
Thinking about breaking up with Bay?
Yeah.
No.
No?
I don't think so.
He's been so distant. He's not talking to her.
Yeah, but then at the end of the episode, he shares that it's like, it's not you. It's like all hearing people. Like, I'm having really complicated feelings about hearing people.
Sure.
Like, it's really not, it's not that he's
You're
taking
right.
it out on Bay, but he just like really needs like space and no one's giving it to him.
Yeah, you're right.
But I don't think he should be storming off from his mom and skipping class. Like,
Go to Trig.
go to Trig.
I like Trig and I took it.
And then Daphne comes to Bay.
Bay's in her art studio aggressively painting.
Painting a piece I think we will see shortly.
Daphne tells Bay that she just saw Angelo and basically says, like, honestly, I feel sorry for the guy.
She says, I went there, and Bay's like, how did it go? And Daphne's like, honestly, why do you care what I think?
Right.
Like, why do you care so much? And Bay says,
I don't know.
He's my dad. Like, he's my bio dad.
And you hit the jackpot with bio dads.
Yeah, you hit the jackpot. And I want you to like him, basically. And
Yeah.
I guess what goes unspoken in this scene is that, like, Daphne and Bay do care about each other.
They do.
And Bay doesn't say it, but she wants to be like, I want your, like, approval about this situation because I care about you.
But then Daphne is like, oh shit, you're right. I did hit the jackpot in the bio dad department.
Yeah.
So she goes up to John, does not tell him about the grand thing at Buckner, but instead says, hey, I would love for you to coach me so I can improve. And so the coach will let me play.
And he says,
Hell
are
yeah.
you sure? Some ex-players of mine have been known to call me a hard ass.
It's cute.
Also, he's reading Sports Illustrated when she walks up, which is just so funny to me.
Because he likes sports, guys.
Guys, that's his one personality trait. He's a good dad and he likes sports. And then Regina shows up at Angelo's apartment as well. Angelo just is opening that front door to all kinds of surprises today.
He doesn't have a peephole. Also, he's home all day.
Well, he doesn't have a job yet.
What did he do for a living before? Why does he have so much money? I don't remember.
We don't know.
But she goes to Angelo's apartment and she's like, I want to give the salon a shot. And they start like drawing and dreaming about what the salon's going to look like.
And then Bay shows up to do a grand romantic gesture for Emmett at his house. And she begins by shining a flashlight in his window to get his attention, which I think is actually a pretty good idea.
It's very smart.
Yeah.
That would work.
And she's trying to like sign at him from far away. I like when he says, like, I can't leave. I don't want to add to my rap sheet. And she's down below. She goes, was that rap sheet?
And then she goes, that's kind of hot.
Yeah. I love it when you talk con. But she is like, come on, like, you're not going to get in trouble. And then she fully takes him out of the house, which I thought he was grounded.
He is grounded. He would be in big trouble with Melody. Thank God he has a deaf mom.
This is just like when Bay, in like episode 2, comes home and John catches her sneaking back in and she goes, don't worry, I wasn't doing anything illegal. And she literally...
Well, this time she's not doing anything illegal.
That's true, but she is still breaking the rule that Melody set. She's like, we're not going to get in trouble. But Emmett would get in trouble.
Emmett would get in trouble if Melody found out. But I think maybe Bay is like, Well, but your mom's deaf. She's not going to hear you leave.
I feel like she could feel his footsteps leave.
What, are the bedrooms right next to each other? I don't know the layout
We
of this
don't know
house.
the layout of their house, but it is a 2-story.
It is a 2-story.
So, like, what? I feel like usually it's like the stairs go over the master bedroom.
But oh yeah, I guess he went down the stairs. For some reason, I thought he went out the window. But he was on the 2nd floor, so...
Yeah.
And there's no ladder.
No, this isn't Twilight for real. He's not going in and out of the window.
Yeah. Anyway, she brings Emmett outside, and they're sitting at a bench in front of a blank wall. And she tells him she understands he's mad at her and at the police, but she wants him to explain how he feels. And then this is when he says, sometimes I really hate hearing people. But I think Bay shows some growth here, because I think in the past, if Emmett said, I really hate hearing people, she would have said, I'm hearing.
Yeah, he even says, like, you're not going to want to hear what I have to say.
But she fully accepts it.
She accepts it. Her face changes.
But she doesn't say anything.
No, she just goes, okay. And he's like, yeah, so, you know, that's you. But then she says, yeah, but no one is better at hating the world than me.
Okay, rich white girl.
I know. I'm like, okay. And then she's like, so how much more fun is it to do it together than apart? Which I think
you and me against the world.
Yeah, which I think is, I don't know, it seems to make Emmett feel better. And then she pulls out a projector and she projects the new piece that she was painting. That's her and Emmett on the motorcycle. I don't know if we know that the motorcycle is named Ripley, but the motorcycle's named Ripley.
Oh, yeah.
Emmett's motorcycle's name is
that's
Ripley.
right. They're on the motorcycle, and the motorcycle's going through a wall, and one of them is holding an axe.
Yeah. So it's a new version of Axe Girl.
Great job, babe.
Yeah, and it is projected, not spray painted on the wall, so it's legal. And she says, just because we can't do street art doesn't mean we can't do street art.
Emmett is delighted.
Yeah, he loves this. It really works. So
yeah, so
that's great.
Good job, guys.
And then back at the Kenish house, John is like, we got all the boxes from the lawyer that we just fired, basically in Angelo's file. For the last 2 years, he's dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Now.
John discovered that Amanda hired a private investigator to track down Angelo's history, and there's no record of him for the past 2 years. He vanished off the face of the earth.
Yeah.
What was he doing? We don't know.
We don't know.
Dun,
we don't
dun,
know
dun.
how he got that money. We don't know how he's affording this apartment. Could this have to do with the fact that his credit card says Adam, but his ID says Angelo?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
And then,
they're back at Angelo's, and they're like reminiscing and talking about
the salon.
What Regina's gonna name her salon. This just feels so unearned.
She's gonna name it Gina's.
She's gonna name it Gina's. But he's kind of filling in some backstory to make us care more about this. He's like, you've always wanted to open your own salon.
They make it sound like they've been together for 30 years.
Yeah, and then they tell this story which should be charming, or is meant to be charming, but comes across so, like, terrible to me. They're at Regina's cousin's wedding.
Well, the salsa music is playing on, like, his iPod or something.
Yeah, and Regina's like, oh my god, the song is I Like It Like That. They turn it up, and then Angelo's like, remember your cousin's wedding? And at Regina's cousin's wedding, this song played. And
as a first dance
song for the couple getting married. And Regina and Angelo didn't notice and got up and started dancing during the couple's first dance.
Are they dumb?
I would be
furious.
Well,
she said her cousin didn't talk to her for months after.
I don't think I would talk to her ever again. That's crazy behavior.
Yes.
Especially, I'm like, you didn't realize and then sit back down.
Didn't you hear the MC say, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the first dance?
Right. They're not deaf. They should have heard.
Right.
It made me hate them so much.
No,
and
I was like,
meant to be like romantic because then they start dancing and it's very, they're both very good dancers. It's very
I was
nice.
like, they're insufferable.
But
the two of them.
It just fades to black with them dancing together being insufferable.
Yeah.
I do not like them as a couple. As handsome as I find Angelo, like, I'm not rooting for him and Regina in any form.
They're so bad for each other.
Also, I missed Wilkie this episode.
Oh my god, yeah.
They can't afford Austin Butler and the actor that plays Angelo. I bet.
Anyway, yeah. I don't know. I don't really have anything else to say. I was just like trying to tie the self-portrait bandaged ear to the episode itself. And I was like, are they taking it really literally because Emma is deaf?
Dude, yeah.
But then I was like, he's struggling with pain, like the bruises from the handcuffs, and a mental struggle after the trauma of being arrested. No, it's never that deep.
It's never that deep with them. They were like, let's make it the ear one. When the song started playing between Angelo and Regina, I thought it was going to be that goddamn bird song for like the
squawk,
45th
squawk.
time.
Caca.
I really thought.
I'd be really excited
to hear it again.
Caca.
No, guys, they bought the rights to a new song.
Thanks for listening.
Talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.